So I will talk to you today about security, so about why it is important and what are the challenges, what are the direction of work at the moment. So Internet of Things, if you look at this, what information you can find, there's a lot of interest in the security of Internet of Things. All those big companies working on security, Symantec, McAfee, Kaspersky, they really started to discover that this is a problem, and okay, of course the customers are also interested in this. So if you want, you can find a lot of reports talking about this. They are pretty high-level reports, but they include some quite interesting information. So I encourage you to look for these things which are available online, and you can find really a lot of information. Okay, Kaspersky actually coined this term that Internet of Things is actually Internet of Threats. And there is something in this, yes? So of course it is opening a new surface of attacks, and you think about security, every kind of device, interface and everything is kind of a new attack surface, so possibility of malicious user to enter your system. So, is it really Internet of Threats? Yeah, if you look at this, what you can find, what are the high headlines of the news? Indeed, there's a lot of hacks. So probably if you drive a Fiat or Chrysler, you were contacted recently, and it's not auto model to go to the service to get an update of your software. There are some predictions that 90% of business face Internet security related, or Internet of Things related security breach by 2016. And there was some kind of a high profile events and headlines. Like, for example, a baby monitoring which was hacked in Texas, where a guy could actually connect out from outside to the monitoring system and talk to the child, and the father by chance discovered this and look at the child with the camera. And apparently, basically, the system had a web management interface where it was enough to put blank spaces in username and password and say, okay, you're entering. So this is there's nothing very sophisticated about this. This is just a mistake, a completely simple and stupid mistake of the implementers. The newly crowned Miss Teen of USA was hacked, and she had a lot of cameras in her house in different places. And actually the guys tried to blackmail her to pay quite a lot of money for this footage of these cameras. And then there was this big botnet which was just built and active just before New Year's last year, where like 100,000 hijacked devices, including smart fridges and so on, were used to send basically spam to the user around the world. So these things really happen. It's not that it's kind of imaginary things. And there's also some other things which we don't know exactly if they really happen in the real world, but it was demonstrated that can happen. And it's, for example, attacks on these healthcare devices, including delivery of incorrect dosage of things within pacemakers, and I will show you afterwards that actually this was concern for many people. And of course, then there were a lot of attacks on a typical internet-connected device, such as printers, where you can cause by reconfiguring them to do some activity which actually can result in physical damage. So this is kind of a mini Stuxnet attack, where you maybe do not attack a nuclear plant, but you can also destroy some just office equipment. I think interesting also thing to stress is that what is really this Internet of Things, because when you listen to the talks which we had for the last couple of days, we really mostly focus on the consumer devices, also kind of reaching out to people. But it is not really true. Of course, connected devices were there for the last 50 years. They were called differently. It was embedded systems, SCADAs, machine to machine, and normally they were connected actually not to internet, but to some small clouds. What happens now, what is quite interesting, and which really results in much more risks, is that you actually connect all the systems. So you don't have only these new consumer-based devices. This was really when you work over here now implementing some cool demos for end users. But we have all this industrial system and all this machine-to-machine system like cars. which now starts to be deliberately or by chance a part of internet. So all these devices and all these machines are connected. It's a one big web of things, which is a big issue because most of these systems were often designed 20 years ago. And they were never designed with really focus on security. They were designed with a focus on safety, but safety does not really equal to security. So they were designed in order to prevent some random errors, to react into some random faults. But they were not designed to deal with deliberate attacks. And very often they rely on very old protocols, they have no capabilities to be upgraded with security, and so on. However, they are kind of connected by just integration with the enterprise systems to the internet. So this is actually a thing which which is interesting because it's not only that there's attacks on a personal and information and only on a person itself, but these attacks can be on a person through attacking some bigger systems. And I will show you some examples of these attacks in practice. And so there were some already examples of successfully attacking through internet, some of these SCADA systems and industrial systems. So far, these were not something which resulted in a big loss of life, but they really resulted in quite a lot of financial loss. And including some of the military systems and drones and so on. So, what are the solutions? Okay, so solutions are easy. Of course, you have to configure security devices, so you have to secure network communication, secure storage, physical security. Because there's a lot of places where you can attack the systems, and of course, if you have access to physical access to the device, which might be possible. And the first hacks, for example, in the cars were involving just a physical interface, which is in the engine block where you could connect the device and then you can copy all information. So you have different types of attackers and you have to think about securing them against them. Of course, the physical attack is kind of nice, but it is unscalable. You have to have access to the device. Nobody might actually notice because there is many of the devices and cars and vehicles and so on systems can be made kind of tamper-evident, so maybe you cannot prevent tampering, but you can see that somebody did something. So that's why this is of course very much more interesting where you can access remotely systems and attack them. So that's why you have to also secure network communication. And also because you want to secure this data in transit. So you have these two basic places where you can access and steal data. It's either in storage or in transit. And you have to take care that to secure both of them. And storage normally is either in end device or in your server. So that's why thinking about security it's not enough to say, okay, I use some protocol and that's all. It's secure because of course HTTPS is secure or TLS is secure. So I am secure because you have to see all the system and all possible single points of attack. Because attacker will go for the weakest part of your chain. So you will not try to break AES encryption or find your private key if you can access this data from some unsecured server, or just go and connect to this device by some near field communication or just by some physical interface to this data. So first of all, being hack-proof is unrealistic. So it might be possible for some very small systems, and in theory we know how to do it. We have some formal tools, formal methods to prove validity of protocols, validity of software. So there are tools which enable you to achieve, of course, there are some limitations. You are familiar with Gödel theorem, Turing theorem, but still you can have an almost perfect security. The problem is that it is very expensive and it's very difficult for complex systems. Most of these tools require really quite steep learning curve to use them, and they require repetition of all the actually steps whenever you change even one line of code. So this is something which is not really very realistic. It is something which is done if you implement the software for F16 or some critical systems, but this is seldomly done for any consumer devices. There only may be really exception is smart cards. So normally software which runs on smart cards is formally verified. But these are very small systems with very well-defined interfaces. So that's why we need also this kind of tools where you not only prevent intrusion or attacks, but you actually monitor for them and react to them. And that's something which we quite well understand and use in computer networks. However, here we move to this kind of completely different scale and completely different environment where we have all the small devices, and which you cannot install really probes on every of this device because of battery cost and so on. And you need to find a way, and that's something which is actually still an open problem, how to do this intrusion detection and intrusion response for this kind of large-scale systems, and how to gather this information and analyze it. Because the important thing is to, if you get this information about possible attacks, possible breaches, some audit information and some alerts, what you do with them? Many of these alerts are false positives. And actually, we don't like false negatives because, of course, then you miss something. But these false positives can be also dangerous because you can overwhelm people. I'm not sure if you ever saw this kind of a typical intrusion detection system or alert or security management system in action, but you have millions of alerts every second. In a big network, like for example NATO network, it's amazing. And of course, some of them are real attacks, and we have a lot of attacks, several hundreds of attacks per day. But there's also millions of other events which has nothing to do with attacks. So this dealing with this is quite a complex process. Of course, we have tools, we have some patterns, we have some AI-based tools which try to identify this people. But now imagine that we have billions of devices, we have even more of this information, and we have to somehow design the systems to deal with it. I think also that what is important is to thinking what is basic, for example, of security approach in military systems is defense in depth. So you not really rely on single protection mechanisms, but you rely on complementary mechanisms which overlap. This introduces some additional cost, but of course it increases significantly security. And then the easiest example in real life of this kind of defense in depth is kind of, for example, multi-factor authentication, where you have a couple of authentication things. You have to give password, maybe some token, maybe some biometrics. I don't think that we can have a very good security relying only on this mechanism, which is a problem from usability perspective, because of course on the first day we had a societal tutorial, and there was a lot of also talking about usability, and as some extent focus of the project, and this also, for example, this demo of using biometrics and some kind of a gate or behavior-based biometrics to authenticate. Well, actually, last week we had some kind of a mini school in The Hague on cybersecurity, and we gave the students several of these biometric systems on smart devices to experiment and try to break. And this one, which was based on this kind of gate and position of the device, was one of the easiest to break. So this doesn't work very well. I managed to break several applications we downloaded just from Play Store, and which we claim to provide voice recognition, face recognition, even fingerprint on this mobile device is pretty easy to break with just plasterling and doing a print of your finger, which is then hardened in some OM, and you can use it to actually open and access to these devices. So this is good. Probably many of the systems provide some security against just unprepared attacker, but they don't provide any perfect security.
Question about the situation. Are we going to find some way to patch on the fly the security breaches? Because for now, when we have a security breach, we have to stop the service, we have to patch it up and restart it and redeploy it.
Yes,
are we going toward okay, we have a security breach, we patch it on the fly, and so it can be really costly. As you said, we have a small city with millions of sensors, we cannot just cut them right.
No, of course, we have patches which you can, it depends what you modify. Some of the patches can be deployed on living systems. the problem which normally happens in this is that you don't know what can go wrong. So of course you test it normally in some lab settings and then you say, okay, it works, and we deploy it. But then you discover that this particular system has different configuration, which you didn't test because it is impossible to test.
Yeah, we cannot have an exhaustive test.
So I think that, you know,
we have better ways of testing now with like model-based testing, which will take more consideration, more cases.
Okay, my background is not really, you know, kind of in software engineering, but there are some methods, you know, to process kind of modifiable code, and you know, I think that to some extent this is a focus of a lot of work which is ongoing now. For example, looking at this what Microsoft is doing, they have this project on agile cryptography, and what they try to do is that at the moment you cannot really exchange crypto algorithms easily. If you start to use one, it's impossible, or it's very difficult and expensive to change to other one. And they want to have a system where they actually can almost in life change the crypto algorithm which is using the system. And this is related also to other big topic now, security research, which is quantum safe crypto algorithms. So if you look how much funding is going in from the especially from security agencies, it's a huge amount. You know, Netherlands, you know, spent like 100 million euro now on quantum computers and quantum safe algorithms. NSA and US spend a range of billions of dollars at the moment. So there's a big, you know, kind of shift from this kind of a very, I would say, skeptical thinking about the abilities of quantum computers to this, you know, really being afraid and trying to secure yourself. And this would be a big problem because, indeed, you know, for example, if quantum computers ever built in the size which enables you to do integer factorization and discrete logarithm problems, then all the public key algorithms, including this ones which you were talking about, using in some of these projects, basically effectively programs. We know about algorithms which are secure, at least at the moment, because there is no quantum algorithms to do them, and most of them are based more on search. So of course, you know, for example, you know, Grove's algorithm, quantum algorithm, is also possible to use this algorithm to more efficiently attack symmetric keys, because this is a search algorithm, but this is only cutting a space by 2. So basically, from 256 bit key, you go to 128, which is still a lot. And so most of the symmetric algorithms are safe, but public keys and so on based algorithms are not. There are Markakis algorithms and some other which are safe, but this is kind of they're not commonly used. And that's an example where you would like to somehow switch this, because now if you have to shut down everything, and Microsoft has a big project on doing this, but it is also about future products, and not just what is now. I think that, you know, so another thing which I think is important to some extent is this context over security in broken glass policies. And not sure if you are probably aware of context over security, but maybe less about broken glass policies. But first of all, you know, we want to activate some of this additional security mechanism based maybe on something what happens with the device. It might be location. Yes, it might be, you might want to have additional authentication if somebody is located in the airport, because, you know, this is a bigger chance that somebody accesses and unauthorized accesses this device than when he is in NATO building and it's a complete safe environment. Of course, you know, then you have to be kind of a bit, I would say, careful about how much you trust this information, because you have to get this information about location from some sensors. This can be spoofed once more. So, you know, this additional thing and every of this kind of even additional security mechanism can actually open a new attack path. And so you have always to make a really full security analysis how well it can work. But what is also important is that's what we also use very often in military environments, is broken glass policies, where in some situations you can override security policy because you want to do something which security policy normally doesn't allow you, but you are in some emergency situation. And this, you can set up policies where it can be allowed. Of course, then it is some alert is generated. It is normally some very limited scope where you can break this security policy. But I think that it is quite important when you think about using application devices environment which you cannot really predict what will happen. Especially, for example, if you use this biomedicine, we're talking about this. Okay, what happens if you start running through the bus? Will your device, erase itself and block completely because you started running? So maybe you should have, some kind of possibility of just pushing a button and, overriding some security policies for some time or something. And this can also be, for example, used on more serious applications like access to some medical data and so on, where you could have some kind of these policies. However, we have once more to be really careful what is the scope of this broken glass and what is the duration of this if you want to use it. So okay, there is some network security, this is just examples, that there are some solutions which are pretty good, so these are good protocols, please use them. We saw that some of these demos, they didn't use any HTTPS even because it's maybe more convenient to do some Wireshark intercepting or something, but still, once you forget about it, you might leave it open. So these are things which exist and it's easy to use. So these problems are to some extent, solved. So it's an easy part, but I think that really difficult part is how to manage security and how to, distribute key material, how to maintain this key material, how to build this trust between the devices and so on. And this is really, in the Internet of Things, it's a problem everywhere. It's even bigger because you have this constrained user interfaces, you have a huge amount of devices, and you have users who might be, for this consumer application, completely untrained. So this might not be really a problem when you think about SCADA systems where you have a professional engineer doing this, but for somebody, my father configuring his smart home, this is a major issue. And sometimes maybe you have to lower some of the security level, go for something simple, offering security which is good enough for the kind of data which you protect. Because honestly, maybe this is not the banking information which you protect, maybe it's just information about temperature in the house, so maybe it is good enough to have some less cumbersome key management system to have something which an older person, anybody can easily set up. Also, of course, this higher security means higher initial cost. So the device will be more expensive because you have to have some coprocessor or some trusted element, secure element, or you have more protocols testing. But on the other hand, it doesn't mean that the overall cost of your system will be higher because loss can be really, really high. In some cases, it can be even loss of life. So let's have a short movies and then just see how to interact with it. I can say for this device.
It was a dramatic plot twist in Showtime's hit series Homeland. The vice president's pacemaker remotely hacked by a terrorist, sending a signal to the device to send him into cardiac arrest. And now a surprising admission from former Vice President Dick Cheney. Says he feared the very same thing could happen to him in real life.
I was aware of the danger, if you will, that existed. I knew from the experience we had and the necessity for adjusting my own device that it was an accurate portrayal.
In an interview with 60 Minutes, Cheney, who has a long history of heart disease, says his doctors turned off the wireless function in his own pacemaker back in 2007.
I worried that someone could kill you.
So, okay, you can say that maybe he's a bit too concerned with his security, but what is interesting is that he says that we had experience. So basically, there were some cases where Secret Service were aware of abilities of doing this kind of attacks. So it is interesting because many of these attacks are not publicized. Normally, companies which sell these devices don't have really interest to publicize these things. And also they are very difficult to prove after the fact. Normally, once more, we have enough forensic tools and intrusion detection systems to see afterwards what happens. And there are some important people who really are concerned about this. So that's another short movie.
Now, you can control everything in your house with a smartphone.
Our devices are increasingly connected online in what's called the IoT.
This is about the DARPA program.
Unlock a garage side door. Today, all of the devices that are in the Internet of Things, are fundamentally insecure. There's no real security going on.
Always on, connected homes.
So connected homes could be hacked and taken over.
What is a house temperature?
There are already horror stories of this happening to baby monitors and smart kitchen appliances.
So if somebody got into my refrigerator through the internet, then they would be able to get into everything, right?
Yeah, that's the fear, right? So the fear is that everything becomes networked.
Yeah.
Right, so first, maybe they can mess with the refrigerator. You think, well, that's bad, it's not that horrible, your milk will go bad, or it's sort of prankish, right?
Yeah, prank.
But that refrigerator, of course, as everything becomes networked, well, maybe that also happens to talk to your garage door.
Or even to your car itself.
How many computers do you think is in a car like this? Somewhere between 30 and 50?
Kathleen Fisher, a DARPA veteran, says a modern car is really a computer on wheels. You've seen the ads of your GPS or smartphone linked to the dashboard. But this way, your car could be hacked and taken over remotely.
Here we go.
They showed us.
Might look at the dashboard there. Oh, ready, Leslie. All right.
This is a regular new car. The masking tape is only there because we agreed to obscure its make and model.
We'll give them the illusion they control the car for now.
Kaufman has been working on this for 5 years with multiple research teams.
Want to hit the fluid?
Oh my gosh.
There we go.
There we go.
What's that? What's that? What's that? Yeah, the windshield wiper fluid. No, wait, so this is something that a hacker has, that's right, a hacker, like, obviously you didn't turn on the windshield wiper.
Using a laptop, the hacker dialed the car's emergency communication system and transmitted a series of tones that flooded it with data. As the car's computer tried sorting it out, the hacker inserted an attack that reprogrammed the software, gaining total remote control.
Oh my God, Lauren. They could control the gas, the acceleration, they could control the braking. That's right.
And they could do this from anywhere in the world.
When they come out and they're facing straight there, like away from us, just saying it, we'll just slam on brake action. And they're stuck. She's stuck dead.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That was terrifying, actually. So now let's make another move around. So just try to stop as it comes here.
She thinks she's going to be able to stop right those cones. Let's make sure that she can. She's going to drive right through them. Like complete control of that brake.
All right. There we go.
Oh, no.
Brake
I
didn't
cannot,
work.
oh my God. I can't operate the brakes at all. Oh my word. That is frightening.
While there's no known case of a car hacked this way, security cameras have shown cars burglarized by hackers unlocking doors. You can find software to do that online for $25. All this has alarmed Senator Ed Markey. Tomorrow, he's releasing a scathing report revealing that nearly all new cars can be hacked, but that only 2 out of 16 car makers can diagnose or respond to an infiltration in real time.
So what that program does is that unlocks the car's door.
DARPA researchers got involved in hacking cars and the Internet of Things.
Are you really trying to hack into it?
Yes, I am.
in an effort to invent unhackable code for military drones.
And is your goal to do it for drones and then have it apply to cars and my refrigerator and things like that?
Exactly right. I think that's what DARPA said is very best. We're solving a specific problem for the military. I want to make sure their systems are safe, but I would like everything to be safe.
The TP-750 is a computer-assisted, self-aiming, long-range sniper rifle. Its targeting system guarantees almost foolproof accuracy by firing not when the shooter first pulls the trigger, but instead only after the barrel is perfectly lined up with the target.
that when I push the red button that's right above the trigger, the crosshairs turn blue so that I can line up exactly where I want to hit. When I let the red button go, the blue crosshairs will turn red. And when I then pull the trigger, the crosshairs turn red and the scope will fire when I manage to line up the shot.
The $13,000 rifle promises accuracy to even the most novice shooters. But security researchers Runa Sandvik and her husband, Michael Auger, have found ways to hack the gun via its Wi-Fi connection.
We found that we could make the shooter miss the shot, either by just a tiny bit or completely off, even to the point of hitting the target that's next to the one that the shooter is aiming for. Tracking
point rifles offer a Wi-Fi connection that allows a nearby computer to stream the video from the scope or even machine settings like ammunition.
We found a way to connect directly to the computer that's inside of it and change the same values, but in such a way that it doesn't show up on the screen. What we're doing now is we are connected to the back end and we are changing the weight of the bullet so that when the scope does the calculations to figure out when it needs to fire and what the other settings need to be for it to hit the tag, then it's going to miss. So it's going to hit the one on the left instead. Lining up to take the shot. And there you go, hit the target on the left.
Yeah, okay, so thinking about this, what the sniper devices are used, so of course this is actually for, it's not a professional, this one is used for more for rich hobbyists. But imagine that somebody from a special unit is trying to kill some terrorist which is next to hostage and then modify just by 20 centimeters, the distance of shooting.
Well, the guy won't be stupid to switch the Wi-Fi on.
during action, unless he doesn't know about it. Yes? Yeah. Okay, so for example, why do you use it? Okay, the typical example is that most of the snipers use, and I use it for example for sailing. It's a military equipment, but it's a wind detector. So you put next to you wind detector to have exact measure of the wind. Now it is very nice if this could be sent via wireless interface automatically to your gun, so you don't have to do correction yourself, but the gun will do it for yourself. So there is some. It's not to stream. Of course, for commander, it is also nice to stream videos like from Predator or some other. But there are some use cases where you would like to connect these devices in the environment. So you don't want to switch it. But of course, in real devices, use some combat. There's there's one connection here. It is probably because they want to have an easier thing, and probably instructor being able to sit down somewhere and looking at how the adults are shooting on the shooting range and so on, and making some nice videos to show them what they do wrong, like in golf or some other sports. But it's so it is interesting. These vulnerabilities are in all the systems. Even in the system where you could imagine this, you have to be stupid not to secure correctly a gun. But
yes.
But yeah, it happens. So by the way, this is from wireless security videos. So I have one more, which shows exactly this time hackers in action.
It's not fun to have your 2-ton SUV's brakes hacked just as you're parking in front of a ditch.
Okay, hold on tight. Hold on. Oh.
That's what I've learned from Charlie Miller and Chris Balasek, a pair of hackers who have spent the last year developing a piece of software that can wirelessly sabotage this 2014 Jeep Cherokee.
It hasn't been altered in any way. There are no devices attached to it. But like many thousands of Jeeps around the world, it can be remotely hacked over the internet through a cellular connection to its entertainment system that will allow someone to take over its steering, its transmission, and even its brakes.
To demonstrate that, I'm going to act as today's crash test dummy and drive it on the highway here in St. Louis, while Charlie and Chris hijacked its digital systems from Charlie's house miles away. They wouldn't tell me what they had planned, but they assured me that it wouldn't be anything life-threatening.
Remember, Andy, no matter what happens, don't panic.
It's not the first time I've driven a car while it's being attacked by these two hackers. But in 2013, they were in the back seat, and their laptops were wired into the vehicle to report against that. Now they're sending the same sort of attacks remotely, and I have no idea what they might do.
He's going as fast as I've seen him, so first we're going to turn the fan on. Yeah, let's turn the fan on so he even notices.
Alright, I'll let it something just turned on all the fans and AC and stuff. I didn't do that.
The trick started small.
Oh my god. There's a picture of Charlie and Chris in tracksuits here on the dashboard.
But as I drove down the interstate, things started getting unpleasant and very loud.
Can't turn it down. Blasting, and I can't see anything because of the windshield wiper fluid.
Okay, do it. Do it. Kill the engine. So we're killing the engine right now.
It says park set.
I stomped on the gas, but the Jeep slowed to a crawl.
It says 43 miles an hour, but I'm not going that fast.
I turned on my hazard lights, but I was still stuck in the right lane with no shoulder to escape onto.
Guys, I'm stuck on the highway.
I think he's panicking. He's not even hear us on the radio. It's so loud.
Guys, I need the accelerator to work again.
The accelerator will work.
It won't work!
You're doomed.
Seriously, it's dangerous.
You gotta turn the car off! Okay, now you should be good to go.
Alright, I'm gonna pull over because I have PTSD.
Charlie and Chris have only tested the full range of their attacks on a Jeep Cherokee. But they say that hundreds of thousands of late-model Chrysler vehicles may be vulnerable to a feature called Uconnect, an internet-connected computer in the dashboard known as its head unit.
These cars had units exposed to particular service that probably they didn't want to. It lets you do things like query it for information, like the GPS or the VIN or all sorts of other things, but it also lets you just run commands. So you have to first break into the car remotely over the cell network and then move laterally if you want to do things like send CAN messages. And those are the messages that we can use to control things like steering, windshield wipers, or braking.
They plan to release a portion of their exploit code at the annual Black Hat Hacker Conference next month. They've also alerted Chrysler, which is issuing the security patch. But they say a lot more needs to be done to protect a new generation of cars that are increasingly connected to the internet and potentially hackable.
You guys basically brought this car to a standstill while I was driving on the highway, which I may never forgive you for. And that was just like an experiment. What do you think is the worst case scenario?
We wanted to point out, to show that this attack has serious consequences for this vehicle, and so we did, attack you. But we did it in as safe a way as we could, so we didn't want to get hurt out. So that's why we're working, is to make sure that we figure out vulnerabilities, weaknesses, get them fixed.
We're only two guys with one car, right? So, we can't look at every car, and we want to release this information because more people like us need to be focused on this problem.
After their stunt on the highway, Chris and Charlie still wanted to show me a couple of other tricks. Below a certain speed, they can control the Jeep steering as long as it's in reverse, pop its locks, mess with the speedometer, and, of course, disable the brakes.
Okay, hold on tight. Hold on.
He's not getting out of that. We're going to be doing some motion.
So it's interesting. So of course, yes, we have, for example, this parking assistance, which also is controlled automatically. So that's why they could control the steering wheel in the reverse and low speeds. But it is. But also, you saw the properties like this. What I mentioned, that at some point it was easy to attack these devices via wired connection. And that's what they presented a couple of years ago, where they had to be in the car and had to be connected to the system to do similar tricks. Now everything is wireless and we can do the same stuff. Which is interesting because you say, but this guy has probably heard about this hack and designed everything. But obviously not. And also because it's a very long time. However, this is something which you just have to be careful when you design the system. There's no kind of a receipt that I will do this and you are completely safe. It's a very complex systems. I encourage you to go look for the proceedings of Black Hat or DEFCON conferences. These are two top conferences in the world about hacking. And also, there's a lot of tools. Microsoft has a lot of good tools for secure development lifecycle, including testing, fuzzing, and so on. So secure design, risk assessment of your system. So there's a lot of tools, but you have to learn to use them. So that's one more vision of this, how many things you can attack and what you can do. This is actually this earlier attack, which was wired with Toyota. So there's a lot of these attack points, and this attack surface is quite significant. And actually, yeah, if you want to learn more, they released a report where they have a lot of different cars assessed. I think more pluses means that they are more easy to attack. And so if your car is on the list, good luck. The good thing is that most of them are new cars, but there are some also some. But this is actually quite safe. So it's interesting. So this is about safety of the system. You attack the system, you modify it, and you have some attacks on the system itself. So what's about data? It was also interesting. So it was mentioned in this DARPA video. The senator from US who actually sent a questionnaire to many manufacturers. Some of them even didn't answer, and some of them are ones which are really connected to this. And that actually are using this information, because if you know this Tesla, I'm not sure if you follow this story, but there was this kind of a test made by a third-party journalist of one of the cars, and he wrote very negative actually review of the Tesla car. And then these guys came up, with a second-by-second description where the car was, what was the speed, what it was doing to rebut his statement. So this is of course they could do it, but they know everything about you. So they can scan all possible parameters of the car, location, and everything what you do. And this is used in some places in US now. When you buy a car and you buy it on loan, actually they can disable your car remotely if you stop paying and so on. So you can see that how many manufacturers are recording driving history, and you can see also that quite a lot of them transmit this data off board. Yes, so this is not that only they collect and when you go for a service somebody can read some information, but they are really in real time transmitted to the service providers. And it includes basically everything. This is an example from this responses also, so only from the manufacturers who responded, what kind of information they collect. So it's quite a lot. So why worry? So why worry about this privacy data? I understand that we should worry that somebody can disable our brakes, but Can we trust them? Okay, that's an example of a trustworthy guy. He was invited to a lot of interesting celebration, meeting important people, and a couple of years ago, okay, so he's a hero for some people, but he's still the most wanted guy. So whatever is, people might have very different motivations why they release this data. This is another example. Maybe this was stupidity. This is an example from military domain, but Petrus, who gave a couple of notebooks, including secret information to his lover and biographer. So, it might be stupidity, it might be, just, kind of egocentrism, like in this case, it might be, some kind of understanding of some higher reason to do it, but, your data is not safe even if you release to this protected environment. So you want to really have control over the data. So how we can do it? Maybe the companies can organize themselves to protect this data, and because of some mechanisms. If you want to learn about this, talk to our business people, Dick or somebody else. There's legislation, so there's actually in some areas we try to introduce a regulation. The US is trying now to introduce regulations that in cars and what information can be stored and how you can opt out from it. And there's of course secure design. And what I would like to talk now, and still have some time, yes. So about technology and what we can do about protecting data. And I think that important thing here is that what we really want to do is to have a very fine-grained and very long control over the pieces of the data which we release. So we want to really encrypt it and protect it as early as to the place where it is produced, and decrypt it or use it or as late as possible, and maybe even never. So there are some cryptographic mechanisms like fully homomorphic encryption, which helps you to do some processing of the data in encrypted state, so that maybe you can actually never decrypt it again and have a fully encrypted data. This is kind of thing which we did for some just the study of access control in general, doing some other projects on secure systems in NATO, which shows you like three kind of dimensions of the space of protecting data. So you have one which is kind of related to this how much description of the content which you protect you have. And can have no, because there's some data which is produced by device which you don't know, what is it. In government and military system, very often you have some kind of classification levels, so unclassified, restricted, things for example, unclassified, or secret. But what is really interesting, and what you also have probably in this earlier talks during the school, is this possibility of describing really much more fine-grained content properties for this data about. And this can be used for various reasons. It can be used for security, it can be used also for information management, for data analysis, and so on. So it's really very nice when you have this data which is described by some metadata which says what is it about. You have this how you enforce the security. So very often security is enforced just by separation of networks. So you have my private network, I have a firewall inside NASA, and while inside this network I can do anything. Just protection is kind of this Chinese wall outside of the system. This is very, very old and typical approach. Then we have this also presented to you in some talks earlier, this kind of access control enforcement point based solutions where you have policy decision point, policy enforcement point, and so on. And then you make an access control decision in real time when you ask for data. So this is some kind of a gateway basically which decides to release or not information. Hey guys.
Sorry.
So we have also this different access control policies. So from very simple, which are based on, for example, that somebody who is clear to secret can access all secret information. This is typically used in banks and all over the world. This is always access control, where you define some roles. And you have some abstraction of this also. Actually, if you look at these three different policy types, every of them you can use to define policies which are below. And these are attribute-based access control. And in attribute-based access control, we talk about it, is its most kind of abstract way of exposing security policies. However, I think that when you think about Internet of Things, you should go at least for a role-based access control, because when I saw this demo of this policy decision point, I think on Monday was it that, where you had to basically define an access rights per person, it is unscalable. Probably at least should have some kind of a template saying like family, my family says this, and for user it is the only way to do it, And the people who I don't know can see only this or something like this, and then you might want to modify this per person, per particular exception, but you should have some particular models or templates how to manage this access to information. Okay, of course, when we talk in Internet at the moment about sensor, we talk a bit bigger sensors than the new talk, so that's a lot of this work was done in a kind of a scenario where we tried to enable a civilian military collaboration in conflicts, where we have some conflict, and then we have also, of course, a lot of information about what is going on, and we want to share it with Red Cross, with some NGOs and so on, to help people who are, just unfortunately involved in the conflict and might be a collateral damage. And what we developed is a system where we can describe in very fine-grained way what is the information about. And we have two policies. One is talking about this to whom this data can be released. So this is called release policy. And the second policy is saying to which device it can be released. Because we have now, because of the progress in technology, people not only accessing different processing data, but accessing it from different devices. It is very typical that the same data might be accessed by the same person, either from an iPad private iPad, or maybe a very secure terminal located in a secure area. So obviously you want to take into account these things and then to release information based also on a protection which can the end device and network which is used to access information can offer. And also what is interesting here, this is exactly what I said, is kind of a high-level view of how attribute-based access control works, and you have these attributes which are basically connected to everything. So you have information which has attributes. For example, it can be logistic information about credit paper. And then you have user attributes, which might be medical officer or logistics officer. And then you have a terminal attributes, which might be saying that it is, for example, iPad with fingerprint authentication and some encryption of SD storage, or it might be unprotected privately owned mobile phone, or it might be a secure terminal located in secure area. And you can have some environmental attributes. And what are environmental attributes? It can be time. You might want to enable somebody to access information in particular time. It can be location, that you want somebody to access information only in particular location, or only information which is located related to information to his location. So that, for example, you can see only information about fights which are going on in a radius of 20 kilometers, and so on. So once more, what we do here is we have this data. We develop the standards how to bind, this metadata to the data objects. We have the policies, which are just two policies. And the split has also practical dimension, because why we split it? It can be proven that this policy can be expressed also as single policy. Now the question is that these policies require different knowledge to be defined, and then this is also a big problem, because it's not only about usability from the user perspective, but it's also about usability from the perspective of security administrator or system administrator. It is difficult to find at the moment enough people who have enough knowledge about security to manage all the systems which we want to secure. So we have to also simplify this. And this simplifies this in this respect that release policy is described by somebody who understands the organization. He understands that, for example, logistics officer should be able to see shipments of something from, let's say, Milan to Kandahar. And he understands that medical doctor should see medical data of related to particular unit and so on. However, he might not understand at all technology, so for him it might completely be possible to assess which device is trustworthy or not. Here we might have engineers who really understand well what are possible attacks and how trustworthy are particular network interfaces, devices, and so on. But they might have no really clear idea about how workflow works in an organization and who might require this data. So we have these two, we can separate these roles and have two different policies, and we can also modify them separately. So depending, for example, on new attacks and new vulnerabilities, we can change the policy about protection, or depending on the new workflow, or, for example, new partner. What is really important for us is when new country joins operation. Like, let's say Sweden now operate with us in Afghanistan or something, and we want now to make all the data which is available only to normally to NATO members to be available also to Sweden for some period of time. And you do it per piece of the data. So basically, when you encrypt the data, and we do this by using encryption, attribute-based encryption, every element is encrypted in different ways, so only people which have particular attributes can access the data. So basically, when in the encryption process, if you have some attributes, and your terminal has some attributes, you will be able to see only some subset of the data, which is challenging itself, because sometimes not all formats of the data are very easily decomposed in parts which are, if you miss something, you can see still a correct way. So there are some quite interesting practical challenges in this. It all sounds great on the high-level diagrams, but if you want to start implement this, there's a lot of interesting challenges. Actually, any questions? Or because I don't want to lose it completely. I hope I will lose some of you, but this part is more technical. So how familiar you are with encryption and cryptography? Everybody knows everything?
Courses just.
So we have a couple of different, just for your sake, because I saw that there was a short talk about attribute-based encryption on Monday, but I had a feeling that it was maybe not clear for everybody what is it about. So of course, the first type of encryption which was used for thousands of years was symmetric encryption schemes. They use the same key for encryption and decryption. It's a secret which you have to keep secret because that's where security of the system is. Well, any user can generate key, then he has to share it somehow with the other person or other rule, and then here we have a problem that we have to have this kind of authenticated distribution mechanism for these keys. So we have to pass it somehow secure way, and also being sure that this is the key from the person who I really want to communicate with the other person. And there are some schemes for doing this. This is also what we do in NATO for some, or in all military systems for some of the equipment, and we pass this kind of tokens, or in some cases can be in paper tape. It's very easy to destroy. So it's also important that when somebody attacks your camp, you want to be able to destroy the key and cryptographic material very quickly. But you know, in modern systems, of course, it's electronically done and so on. But you know, this is quite often used for some devices, point-to-point devices. But it is no good if you have some very well-defined network. It starts to be very unscalable for very big systems. To solve this problem of how the key distribution, people introduce this public key encryption schemes. Of course, afterwards we found a lot of other solutions, applications for this, including digital signatures. But let's focus at the moment on this kind of confidentiality protection. And the interesting thing there is, of course, that you have different key for encryption and decryption, and you can make an encryption key public. And you have to keep protect on your secret key. And much more for most of the systems, or say any user can generate keys. And this authenticated distribution mechanism is required only for public keys. Yes, so and once the public key is authenticated, anybody can use it for communication with you. But you still have to authenticate it. Sometimes there are different schemas. There's a PKI, or there's another one which is called PGP, which is more distributed, where you basically kind of do it by publishing some trusted hash somewhere where people can check that this is your unmodified key and so on. And you can use other people to actually certify, confirm your keys, so it's a more distributed system than typical PKI. So next step was somebody thought, okay, so can we do it this way that we can actually generate this public key from your identity? So then we don't need this authenticated key distribution, because we just know when I know that somebody is James White, then I can generate his public key just from this information about, maybe more information, but some unique identifier of this person. And that was how identity-based encryption schemes were introduced. It was maybe like 15 years ago. And the problem there is that private key for these schemes have to be generated by central authority. So you have this kind of a SQ mechanism that you have to have a trusted party which helps you generate your private key. And this party can have, there are some schemes which can help you to keep your private keys secret, but can also have a control of your private key. It has advantages and disadvantages. In some organizations you might want actually to have access to all communication. In some cases it is not the best solution. But it makes administration of the public keys much, much easier. And then there was a kind of another couple of people thinking, okay, so now we have identity. Identity is actually kind of an attribute of a person. So why don't we extend it? Can we extend it where we use actually not only single identity, but attributes of a person, attributes of a group. So can we extend it to a kind of access, basically enforcing whole access control policies? And that's how attribute-based encryption has been developed. So basically, users in this system, users receive private keys which correspond to the attributes, and ciphertexts are linked to the predicates on the attributes. So what are these predicates? These are basically access control policies which says what attributes are required to see particular piece of information. And basically you can decrypt it to some intelligible form only if your attributes evaluate particular logical predicate which is evaluated over these attributes to the one. In selective security, which introduces this, this first step, which says that basically this attribute set, which is kind of queried and which is assessed, is decided in advance. And this subtle difference makes it much easier to do some proofs, some security proofs. However, the problem with this small difference is that, you know, the security is proven only to this particular set, which was used as a challenge attribute set. So, and this is very important because you might not be able to say much about how secure the systems in general. So if you introduce new attributes, or if you use different set of attributes, this is still secure. So that's why we prefer to use full security system. Although the problem here is that many of these full security systems are much less efficient than selectively secure systems. It might be in your case that you will just know exactly which attribute set you use, and that the selective security systems are enough. But you have to judge yourself. Another interesting challenge in this kind of attribute-based access control systems, encryption systems, is how to encode qualities, because basically this is what you can encode as some binary values. So you have to make some tricks which are quite inefficient because they increase a lot the size of the policy to encode any quality comparison. But you can do it. This is just not very efficient. And so you have to be really aware of this, because these policies can grow easily very, very complex, and this has influence on computational time and overhead. Some of the systems just go linearly with the size of the policy which you use, so the complexity of the systems. Revocation is another interesting problem. You have two approaches to this. It's an indirect and direct revocation. Indirect revocation is basically like kind of similar to short-lived certificates. So basically, one of the attributes which you include in the key or in policy is time. And once it is expired, you have to regenerate all these keys, which has an overhead because you have to regenerate all the keys every so much time. On the other hand, you don't have much overhead when you do encryption because you just encrypt data with a particular attribute-based encryption key, and you don't have to include any information about revocation, and you don't have to distribute any revocation list about users who don't want to access information anymore. In these direct revocation schemes, they are a bit more efficient in communication because you don't have to do any system-wide key distribution, but the problem is that you have to use much more information when you distribute keys, because you have to when you encrypt data, because you have to use also this revocation information when encrypting data to make it impossible for people to revoke to decrypt the data. And so this is important to remember about revocation, because at some point you will have to change something in the system, and now of course you can completely reset the device. It has some cost, or you can do it remotely, but it is a difficult thing about how to revoke access to some information once you've granted it. Okay, this is just to show you how we did it. So now in this case why we did it, because we are actually interested in using some untrusted third parties. That's why we want to have this encrypted data, because we might want to use really cloud storage. We might have a network which we don't trust. This is protected core network, which is our NATO network. But what happens here is basically less completely uncontrollable for us. And this, of course, here are terminals, but can be also sensors or any other machine generating data. And basically, what we did and what we have demonstrated is exactly this kind of scenario where different people belonging to different organizations and accessing data with different terminals can see different information from a geosystem, which is either actually simple Google Earth system or actually our inside and NATO secret systems, which is used for ballistic missile defense, and where we can see different parts of the data depending on the who is looking at this. And many of this data actually which is stored here comes from different sensors. Some of them, of course, big sensors, radars, but also wind sensors, because what we do here, just maybe to describe a bit this scenario, is that we have a passive, so-called passive missile defense system where we have missiles being sent and launched from some hostile country on the NATO installations, and we want to intercept them. So this is actually a defense system which intercepts this missile. Missile is intercepted somewhere, destroyed, but okay, it is destroyed, but this debris falls somewhere. And that's where this passive missile defense system starts to work, because of course this debris falls somewhere, and now we would like to collaborate with our partners on ground, some NGOs, UN, Red Cross, and so on, to help people who might be there. This might happen, or this missile might be intercepted over some completely unrelated area, or maybe somewhere where there is no enemy. Actually, these are just regular people living. And it might be a chemical weapon, it might be nuclear weapon, it can be any other weapon, and it might pollute the environment. So we have a lot of sensors which gathers data and enable you to calculate the pollution area based on this where you intercepted missile, what was the wind, what is the terrain, is it mountains, is it water, and so on, how quick it will disappear, and so on. So we would like to share some views of this information, but we might, for example, not want to share with the Red Cross worker what was the type of the missile, where it was launched, how we intercepted it, where we intercepted it. You might just get information, okay, this is the area where the debris are. Okay, thanks a lot. Any questions? Not much time for questions, I suppose, if you want to get a coffee. Very good. So, please have a coffee.
Thank you.